I'm Steve Gilman, and this is Brand Story, where we help you build stronger, more sustainable brands by sharing insightful conversations with brand leaders, marketers, and professional storytellers. And my guest today is Gina Grillo.
I would say that that's the most important asset to our community is the talent. Not only on the creative side, every person. We've learned through the years that creativity comes from everywhere, not only if you have, creative in your title.
Gina is president and CEO of the Advertising Club of New York, and under her leadership, the Ad Club has transformed into a modern voice for advertising in the whole industry, really. And she also oversees the International Andy Awards. In 2017, the 4As named her to their esteemed 100 People Who Make Advertising Great list. And prior to joining the Ad Club, Gina held positions at Young and Rubicam and MTV Networks. Gina, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad you had the time to join us today. I think not a ton of people outside of New York know what the Ad Club is. Well, in our industry, I'm sure they do with the Andy Awards. But I was really excited to have you on because you all have been doing some great work for a long time.
A very long time, 129 years to be exact.
Wow. That's crazy.
I haven't been there the whole time though, Steve.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
If you've been there the whole time, you look great.
But I am up there. I have been here decades, so definitely part of a lot of the transformational moments in our industry.
I'm sure. So what inspired you to, in the first place, to pursue a career in advertising?
A summer internship.
Really?
Yes. I was actually, when I was in school, there was a lot of opportunity for women in banking. So, of course, my family was like, that's what you should do. So I'm like, okay. And I got a summer internship at a public relations firm, Burson Marsteller, which I believe may still be around in some form. And I walked into the place and I was like, these are my people. What am I doing? I can't go into stuffy Wall Street. So, so that summer I interned in their media department with such dynamic people, and I just really loved the experience. And because I went to school locally here at St. John's, go Johnnies, we're doing very well right now. So they offered me, they said, hey, why don't you go to school a couple of days and still work here a couple of days? And I was like, oh, I could do that? Sure. So that's what turned me on to advertising, marketing, media, PR. And of course, while I was at Burson Marsteller, Y&R was their parent company. So that's where I wanted to work. When I graduated, I was like, I have to graduate and be at the parent company. And so that's really what I pursued. But I would have to say I probably had 2 years of English literature classes and creative writing and all things like that, because my first year and a half or 2 years first 2 years, 2.5 years were spent on the business side, the real business side, calculus and all that. So
yeah, well, I bet all of that comes in handy in an advertising career. And you were at the MTV networks for a while too. Was that in the early days of MTV or?
Yeah, oh my gosh. I was not there years because Y&R had such a crazy long interviewing process that I worked at MTV and then I went to Y&R, but it was like within that same year, maybe I was there 6 or 8 months. But that was a cool place at the time because I remember the median age was like 26 years old. And at that time, it was a new entity, music videos were like a new concept. So it was a really fun, energetic place to work. But I really wanted to get onto the agency side.
Yeah. What an informative place to be even for a short period of time during those days. Those were like the heyday.
Like I said, when you got there in the morning, all you could hear was like Howard Stern on everybody's, in everybody's office. It was really very unique.
That's cool. So you've been with the Ad Club for over 15 years now?
Oh, more than that. I'm like approaching the 20s, 30s. Yes. I've been there. I've been here for quite some time. I started out in a very junior role and have kind of touched every part of the organization. And, there was nowhere left for me to go. So they put me in.
You just stubbornly stayed until you reached the top.
Yes, that is me.
So, with having been there for that long, the change in the industry during that time, has been just insane. So, how has the Ag Club adapted to these changes? How have you adapted?
Well, you need a strong stomach, I think, for a lot of it, just because not only are you having to advance because of all the technological changes, but all cultural shifts as well. And we all know that this community is very impacted by what happens culturally. So I think that the thing that really helps the club continue to evolve are the people that are connected to us. You know, the board of directors, the volunteers, the Andy jury, the Andy chair people, all of them are really very instrumental in helping inform the decisions that we're making here because they're sharing their experience. And so we take all of that in and then we figure out, okay, well, what's best for us? What's best for the community? And I think, throughout all this change, we really try to align ourselves with the change makers. And so to be a part of how that change is happening and to see it through the eyes and ears of the people that are actually instituting that change has been, and that's like such a cool thing for the ad club. I mean, it's such a cool thing for the people that are on our team, and it's such a great thing for our members because it's all happening in real time, and we're able to share that with the community. I think that's one of the benefits of not only working here but being part of the membership in the community.
Yeah, I mean, your board of directors is kind of a who's who of advertising. So I'm sure everything that's happening in the industry ends up getting filtered into your programming and trying to help people navigate. So you've done a ton of work in diversity programs, which I applaud. I think that's great. So can you tell me a little bit about what you've been doing?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So the Ag Club has a foundation that's been in place since the mid 80s. And really, it started out supporting people who were interested in going to graduate school. So we give like a lot of MBA scholarships. And then we started to have conversations about, well, it's really important to get to students younger. And part of that conversation was here we are sitting in this urban metropolis and with a lack of diversity and underrepresented groups amongst us. And so how do we ignite that curiosity in young people? And so then we started with, an internship program and a high school program to really educate young people to say this is a welcoming and viable community for you to think about. So this is like, I'm talking about this, years ago. Now we'd be lucky to get the attention of these kids because they're digital natives, they're storytellers from the time they can hold the instrument right in their hand. And so they're so poised for what we do. And so it's kind of like a full circle moment. But I think one of the things that is really part of our mission, and honestly, we're not stopping or redirecting, making sure that the advertising community is represented of the people that we're trying to communicate our messaging to. And so really important to have all those different perspectives, and not only in the work that we do at the foundation, but at everything we do. When we're putting together a thought leadership panel, let's make sure that we're getting different perspectives. When we're putting together professional development, how could we learn from people who look like us? It's all of that is, super important for the way that we carry ourselves.
Yeah, and I think especially for the advertising industry, because it's a reflection of culture and you need so many different voices and a rich mix of backgrounds to be able to succeed. So you do a lot of professional development. I mean, that's one of the major missions of the Ag Club. Can you tell me a little bit, any highlights from some of the professional development you all have been doing lately?
I'd say the latest highlight is that we've formed a partnership with the Creative AI Academy. An old friend and a new friend are leading that charge, and they have a very great hands-on workshopping. They're both teachers at the Pratt Institute, and so one of the options is getting certificate programs. So always trying to give our members what they need when they need it. Part of, during COVID, we were so involved in professional development because we saw, okay, people have time on their hands now in a way that they didn't have before. And so what can we be doing to feed that? Not only with young people, but at all entry point of your career. It's like, especially with all the new evolving technology, it's like, a lot of us don't want to admit what we don't know. Like I just admitted I wasn't sure about how to get onto this podcast, but if we're honest with ourselves, we all could use the professional development because not only is it important just for your own personal growth, but in order to be a player, you have to know how to play.
And the pace of change is so much more than it used to be. And so are you seeing a lot of demand in the industry for, education around AI and how to use it?
Like all of it, it's so interesting because again, people don't want to admit what they don't know. But if you approach them in a way that we're all in this together and we're all trying to figure this out, I think the walls start to come down. So we had a great opening session with this group, and now we're even going into companies and sharing this, with companies versus individuals. But we're doing both, so that if you're an individual and you're interested in learning, we have that option. Or we've been going into companies and saying, listen, we could bring this in, and you can pick and choose what aspects of this program are going to be important to your business.
That's great. I mean, it's really important, and the as fast as it's moving, I think there are probably a lot of people at different levels and agencies that aren't digging in or getting left behind. So I think it's really important education to get right now.
Well, particularly, I mean, on the agency side, it's a service industry, and there's always, I mean, having spent years at it on the agency side, it's like it's really in service to your clients, and there's not a whole lot of. I was lucky enough to grow up at Y&R, and so their training was so important to them. But we all know that those programs have fallen way, 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 way away. And so the club tries to give those opportunities to our members to be able to keep sharpening the toolkit.
You've been helping agencies grow and supporting agencies for so long. What are some of your role models of people that helped you get to where you are now? And what would you pass on?
There are so many. I mean, I've been doing this for so long, and I've had just such the good fortune of working with so many people that have working with, not necessarily for, and so it's a different dynamic. Oh my gosh, just taking in, just on the Andy side, all those brilliant creative minds that have influenced me. I mean, I'm a little bit of a not risk taker. I'm a little bit more cautious in my everyday. And they would come up with these ideas, and I'd be like, oh my goodness, we can't do that. We can't do that. And they'd be like, yes, we can. And now I'm in a position where I'm always the one that says, we can do it. We'll figure it out. Let's go. But I would have never been that person had I not had the influence of so many dynamic, creative people in our industry who have pushed the envelope because they wanted to push the envelope in their role as jury chair or part of the jury, or Andy winners. They wanted to, like, what about this? What about that? And that's another thing that's been amazing in my experience at the club. It's just the ability to try things. There's not a lot of layers here. And so if we think it's a great idea and we get a couple of people to nod their head, we're like, okay, let's try it. Let's see. I mean, I remember one year we crowdsourced the jury. I mean, that was crazy scary, but we survived. I remember one year we eliminated categories for the Andes when all the other shows have a zillion categories and that's the way they make their money. So we did that. So I think, so that definitely on the creative side, and then just the incredible business leaders, the publishers, the people who are out there trying to sell their brand, whether it's to consumers or to other people in the industry. I got to watch some really suave, smart sellers in the business. And so that has been, that's been amazing. And then from people on the brand side, to be a good steward of your brand and know that your reputation is everything. Those are the things that I really hold very, very close. And those are all learnings that I don't think I came in with, but I'm definitely leaving with.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, you all touch a lot of talented people. So tell me a little bit about where you see, the Andes going. I know, didn't you take the judging like you did it live a couple of years, or are you still doing that?
That's what I'm saying. This crazy stuff. Like, okay, let's be clear. The Andy team is 3 people and me. So, it's small but mighty. But yes, the time with the jury, all of that incredible insight, and just understanding of the industry and what it takes to be creative and what it takes to get the work to be award winning. We're like, this is so magical what happens in these sessions. How could we make the community tune in to learn about why, just give feedback? And so we started doing Andy Live from the judging room. We're going to be doing it again this year, which is, we're going to be in Croatia doing that. So that should be interesting. But it was a real, insight to say, hey, this is what makes award winning work. These are the most creative minds from around the world, and they're talking about the state of the industry, and they're talking about what makes brave work and what makes innovative work, and showing examples and making the people who create that work feel really good about what they're doing. Because it's great that we're recognizing the work, but the people behind the work are as important. I mean, I would say that that's the most important asset to our community is the talent, not only on the creative side, every person. And we've learned through the years that creativity comes from everywhere, not only if you have, creative in your title. So I think that is, that's really, I think a really important aspect is just giving that feedback, letting people into a room that no other organization lets you in.
I think it's a really cool thing to do. I mean, all judging on all other awards isn't transparent at all, so you don't learn anything from it. I think it's a really cool thing to do. So if anyone listening hasn't tuned into that and is in the industry, I think it's a really important thing to be part of.
Tune in live, or it's going to, it lives on after. So if you can't tune in live because it's not, because getting the right time zone has been a little tricky. But if you can't tune in live, then certainly, there'll be repeats and repeats and repeats.
Yeah. I mean, it makes great content and it's a great thing to learn from. And, a lot of Andes are very predictive sometimes of what work is going to go on and win.
Sometimes, Steve, we have a 92% success rate.
Is it 90? I know it was really high. Is it 92?
Yes, you know what? We always knew this, but I guess it was a while ago. But for the last 10 years, we've been publishing it. #Andy predicted. And so we say, okay, this is what we think is going to go on and win other shows. And guess what? 92% of them, and sometimes greater, go on. And this year, I don't know if you know about this, but the Ad Club has launched Adlock. And Adlock is something that our entertainment friends know when they get an EGOT, right? When they win all the shows. So this year, if you win, well, from now on, forevermore, if you win an Andy, a D&AD, a Can Lion, a One Show Pencil, or a Clio, you have an Adlock. When we're finished with this award season, we hope that there's many people who can proudly say that they have an Adlock.
That's a really cool idea. It's like the EGOT of advertising.
Yes, it is the EGOT of advertising. And we have our partners at GUT. Anselmo Ramos is our chair this year. And so we brainstormed that one.
That's a really fun thing to do. Good for you guys. I think you bring a lot of energy to the industry. And, you know, energize people to do even better, greater work, and keep it up, because I think you guys do some really cool things. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about the Ag Club? Because I'm going to get into some like closing questions.
Well, I think one of the most important aspects of the club, whether it's whether it's the foundation or the Andes, is really the sense of community. I feel like it was always hard before COVID to to try to gather community because it's New York City. Everybody's got 100 other things that they maybe opt to do. But I think post COVID, people are really yearning for that sense of community, that we belong to something. Yes, everybody has their company, and that, of course, is their first environment where they're thriving. But to be able to come into a community of like minded folks that, whether they're on the agency side or the media side or the brand side, whether they're just starting out their career or they're in the C suite, the connective tissue that the club tries to foster is really important. And also just making way for all those different perspectives and the exchange of the ideas amongst the membership and the prospective members, I think, is one of the things that now feels like a very important initiative to push.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, how's the Ag Club doing? Is it growing? Is it doing well?
So, believe it or not, our membership has doubled since COVID. We've tried to be very present during COVID. We really put ourselves in the in the seat of our members. It's like we were all trying to figure stuff out. So we were just constantly doing webinars. We were constantly, polling our community to see what they were doing. We constantly had a lot of the professional development, skill building stuff. So a lot of that happened. And now, as people are starting to come back to work and want to be in the rooms where to be seen and, and to shake people's hands and all that, we're starting to see a lot of people come out and really clamoring for events. So that in addition to the scheduled events that we have through the year, advertising people of the year and brave brands and the Andy show and all the sort of the holiday party, our summer social, we're also putting in meetups throughout the year so that people could just come and up to the clubhouse here and hang out and get to know each other better.
That's great. That's a great thing for the industry. Do you have a message to agencies that are outside of New York about the Ag Club?
Well, listen, even agencies outside New York, now that we figured out how to do a webinar successfully, you too can have the content. We always keep all of our content. It's all archived on our website. So if you're interested in any given topic or want to hear any given speaker, it's a catalog of work that you can tap into. We also have this great series on inspiration, and we've captured some of the icons in our business and have them just have a down home, sort of sharing how they got in the business, why they stayed, their success stories. And so there's so much content to access, and also even the database is like a searchable database so that you can make friends inside the membership. So you don't necessarily have to be in New York to bear the fruit of all the things that the Ag Club does.
Yeah, that inspiration series, if anyone hasn't heard of it, if you're in the industry or you're a marketer or you're adjacent to the industry, go to the Ag Club's website and find the inspiration series. I know you have it on Instagram as well.
Yes, we have it also on the Andy Awards site. We take that to schools. St. John's has been doing, some of the bringing those to life as well. It's really important. I mean, these students don't even know half the people when when you're talking about the George Loises and the, Lee Clowes and Dan Wydens of our industry, but you can't help but be inspired by their stories and certainly, their work. So.
For sure. I think that's amazing. And I love coming to the city. So I'd love to come to an event one of these days. So let me ask a couple of closing questions just about you, and then I'll let you go because I'm sure you have a very busy day. You've been doing this a long time. I know the Ag Club is continuing to grow, but what would you say this chapter of your life is?
Steve. Well, I'm having 2 of my children graduate college this May, and so there's going to be a little bit of more intention on me. So I think that that's scary and exciting at the same time. I was telling my mom the other day, I'm like, I got to really ramp stuff up. And she's like, what? And I said, yeah. I said, the kids are getting on their way. Now I need to like put the focus back on me. It's a little scary, but I'm excited for, I don't know what that means, but I'm feeling like, my attention is usually in 20 directions, and it'll be good to, maybe bring it down to 10.
I think that's great. I think that it'll be great to see what that manifests into, because being able to work on yourself and do the things you want to do at this point, I think that's really cool. If you could go back and, back in the Young and Rubicamp days and give a message to your younger self, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. I was really an observer. I was very quiet, and I waited for the right moment, always to say something or do something. And I think one of the things that I've learned, particularly at the Ad Club, because I've had so much responsibility at a young age, and I welcomed it, but I would encourage young people to take on responsibility, because there is nothing more appreciated by senior people than to know that they can entrust somebody in what they're building. And I was shy. That's why I didn't like raise my hand for everything. But once I got that little bit of, I know I can do this, let me just do this. I then the sky's really the limit. So I would encourage young people to take responsibility and show people that you're capable, because if you are, you will have a really good trajectory.
I think that's a great message to end on, and I think that's exceptional advice. I mean, a lot of times people are afraid to volunteer, to take on responsibility too, not just like, let me help, but let me take on the responsibility for this so that you don't have to worry about it. And then when you execute and you see it through and it goes well, what happens? You end up as the CEO and president of the Ag Club. That's what happens.
Well, it's such a great feeling too to have a sense of accomplishment, that you're part of something, like, you helped somebody build something. I mean, it's a really fulfilling.
Yeah, it builds a ton of confidence too. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I super enjoyed this conversation.
Same here.
Want to hear more inspiring stories? Subscribe on your preferred podcast app so you don't miss an episode. And if you like what we're doing, please rate, review, and share. It's the best way to support us. Thank you for listening to Brand Story.